Have you ever walked into a room and felt something shift inside you, like the air was heavy with emotion, even before anyone spoke? Have you ever cried for someone else's pain without knowing why? Felt drained after being around certain people, even if they didn't say a word? If so, this isn't just sensitivity. This isn't weakness. This could be your calling. And the truth is, you may be the empath chosen one, the soul selected not just to feel deeply, but to transmute, to heal, and to lead in a world that has forgotten how to feel at all. Most people don't talk about the spiritual weight of being an empath. They might call you too emotional, too soft, or even too much. But what if they're wrong? What if everything you've been criticized for is actually proof of your spiritual role on this earth? Right now, as you listen to these words, something inside you is stirring, a remembering, a knowing. And I want you to stay with that feeling. Don't push it away. Because in this space, this sacred pause, you're not just watching a video. You're stepping into a deeper reality, one where your sensitivity is not a flaw but a frequency, one where your pain is not your burden but your initiation. Let's go deeper. There are 7 signs that you may be the empath chosen one. These aren't generic traits, they are sacred markers, sacred codes embedded in your soul blueprint. And if even one of these resonates deeply, it may confirm what you've always suspected, that you are here for more than just survival. The first sign is that you feel everything, even the things unspoken. You sense people's moods, even when they lie about them. You hear what isn't said. You pick up on the tension, the longing, the grief behind the smiles. This isn't imagination. This is empathic intelligence. It's your inner radar, tuned not to logic, but to vibration. The chosen empath doesn't just hear words, we hear the soul behind them. But here's what most empaths don't realize. This gift, if undeveloped, becomes a curse. If you don't learn how to discern what's yours and what's not, you'll carry pain that doesn't belong to you. You'll take on wounds that were never yours to heal. And this is where so many empathic chosen ones fall asleep. They become overloaded, burnt out, distracted, or they numb themselves just to survive.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Has that been you? Have you ever felt like the weight you carry can't be explained by your own life alone? That's your second sign. You carry ancestral or collective pain. You're not just feeling your emotions, you're feeling generations of unprocessed grief. You are the one in your lineage who was born to break the cycle. That's why your pain feels so large, because it isn't just yours. It's historical, cosmic, and your soul said yes to that mission before you even entered this body. But to fulfill that mission, you have to awaken. Which brings us to the third sign. You've always felt different. Even in a crowd, even among friends, there's a part of you that feels like an outsider looking in. You've observed more than you've participated. You've questioned what others accept. And no matter how much you try to blend in, you can't. That's because you weren't meant to. We, the empathic chosen ones, are not here to fit the world's mold. We're here to reshape it, to soften it, to bring humanity back to the heart. But being different is lonely, especially when you don't yet understand why. That's why the fourth sign is so important. You've had to survive emotional warfare, narcissistic abuse, toxic relationships, energetic vampires, people who drained you, manipulated you, made you question your worth. Why does this happen to empaths? Because your light triggers their darkness. Your presence exposes what they've buried. And unconsciously, they try to dim you so they don't have to face themselves. But here's what you must remember. Every battle taught you boundaries. Every wound taught you wisdom. Every heartbreak pushed you closer to your power. If you've survived that, you're not weak. You're initiated, which leads to the fifth sign. You are a natural healer, even if you've never studied healing. Your presence soothes people. Strangers tell you their life stories. Animals trust you. Children feel safe around you. You may not have a certificate on your wall, but your aura is medicine. And the moment you stop doubting that, you will become unstoppable. But healing others must never come at the cost of abandoning yourself. The chosen empath must master the art of self-sourcing. You cannot pour from an empty vessel. You must learn to parent your own inner child, to soothe your own nervous system, to protect your own energy field. So ask yourself, what would happen if you treated yourself with the same care and tenderness you offer to everyone else? That question is a doorway, and when you walk through it, you'll reach the sixth sign. You are connected to something beyond logic. Maybe you've had dreams that came true. Maybe you just know things before they happen. Maybe you felt guided by unseen forces your whole life. That's not fantasy, that's your empathic intuition. It's not just emotional, it's spiritual technology. And it's time to stop ignoring it. Your intuition is your compass. And when you follow it, even when it doesn't make sense, you'll always end up where your soul needs to be. Which brings us to the seventh and final sign. You feel a calling. Maybe you can't name it yet. Maybe it's just a whisper. But you know deep down that you are here for something bigger, something sacred, something that involves love, healing, transformation. And even though you've been afraid, even though you felt unworthy, that calling has never left you. Because it's not going to. You are the empath chosen one. You were born to feel, born to see, born to remember. And now you're being asked to rise, not just for yourself, but for all the others who are still asleep, and for all the children who are growing up in a world that tells them to shut down their hearts, and for all the ancestors who never got to speak their truth, for all the souls who are lost in numbness, addiction, distraction. You are the bridge, you are the light, but you must choose it. So I ask you now, what would happen if you stopped resisting your sensitivity and started revering it? What would shift if you stopped hiding your light and started shining it with purpose? What would awaken in you if you stopped ignoring the signs and finally said yes? Yes to your gifts. Yes to your healing. Yes to your mission. This is not a performance. This is a remembrance. You are not watching this by chance. You were led here. And now the real journey begins, not the journey of learning more, but the journey of becoming. The world doesn't need more information. It needs more embodied empath souls who have walked through the fire of their own emotions and emerged with compassion, clarity, and conviction. You are one of them. You know it. So stop waiting. Stop shrinking. Stop doubting. and start living like the empath chosen one you came here to be. Because the next phase of your life will not be built on logic. It will be built on alignment. And alignment begins when you stop ignoring the signs. You didn't choose to be an empath. You didn't wake up one day and say, "I'd love to feel the weight of the world in my chest." You didn't raise your hand and volunteer to sense the sorrow behind a smile, the rage behind a calm voice, the fragmentation of a soul trying to appear whole. But you were chosen anyway. Not by some external deity sitting on a cloud, but by your own soul before you entered this world, before you were born into this body, before your first breath. You said yes. Yes to the sacred burden. Yes to the sacred gift. Because only those strong enough to carry it in love can hold the wounds of others without becoming them. And now we must go deeper. Because being an empath chosen one isn't just about the signs. It's about what those signs point to. And what they point to is transformation, service, rebirth. The sacred art of carrying what others cannot and learning how to transmute it instead of being crushed by it. Let me ask you something. Have you ever absorbed someone's pain and then felt guilty for not being able to fix it? Have you ever walked away from a conversation or a room feeling like you were wearing someone else's grief like a second skin? That's not weakness. That's sacred sensitivity. But the key is this: without boundaries, your gift becomes your weight. Your empathy becomes entanglement. Your compassion becomes codependency. And this is the first great lesson of the empath chosen one. You are not here to carry everyone's pain. You are here to witness it, hold space for it, reflect it back with love, but not to become its prisoner. You must learn the balance between compassion and self-preservation. You must learn the difference between being a healer and being a sponge. Because your nervous system, your heart, your energy field, they are sacred instruments. And instruments must be tuned, respected, protected. Have you ever noticed how drained you feel after certain interactions? That's not accidental. Your body is an oracle. It tells you when something or someone is not aligned. But most of us ignore the signals. We override them. We justify them. Why? Because we've been trained to believe that love means sacrifice, that empathy means self-abandonment, that to help others, we must first harm ourselves. But what if that's a lie? What if the most loving thing you could do is honor yourself completely? What if your boundaries are not walls but containers, sacred containers that allow your gifts to flourish without being depleted? The world doesn't need more empaths who are exhausted, resentful, or lost in emotional chaos. The world needs empowered empaths, embodied empaths, empaths who have turned their burden into wisdom, their pain into power, their sensitivity into sovereignty. And that begins with reclaiming your space. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to not be available for everyone's drama, trauma, or projection. You are allowed to choose you. Because when you choose yourself, you don't abandon others. You model for them what self-honoring looks like. And that might be the greatest healing of all. So the sacred burden becomes sacred choice. But let's go even deeper. Why were you chosen? Why do you feel the world so intensely? Why do you cry during certain pieces of music, or feel overcome by beauty in nature, or sense grief in the eyes of a stranger? Because you are wired for connection. You are a bridge between the seen and unseen, between the logical and the intuitive, between the personal and the collective. You are the one who notices the subtleties, the micro-expressions, the energetic shifts. You are the one who walks into a place and can feel if something happened there. You are the one who can look into someone's eyes and see them, often more deeply than they've ever been seen before. And that is terrifying to people who are still wearing masks. It's why you've been pushed away. It's why people have called you too much, or too sensitive, or too intense, because your presence is a mirror. And people who are hiding from themselves can't bear to look. But don't you dare dim your light for their comfort. Don't you dare shrink your energy to fit into a space that was never meant to contain your fullness. You are not here to make people comfortable. You are here to wake them up, to invite them into the depth they've been avoiding, to show them that feeling isn't weakness, it's wisdom. That vulnerability isn't fragility, it's strength. That compassion isn't naivety, it's divine intelligence. But to do that, you must first embody it. You must become the master of your own emotional world. Because here's the truth most empaths don't want to hear: feeling deeply is not enough. You must know what to do with your feelings. You must learn to alchemize them, to move them through your body, and to name them, to sit with them, to learn from them without being ruled by them. The Empath Chosen One is not just a feeler. You are a transmuter. That means you can take in pain and release it as peace. You can absorb chaos and return clarity. You can encounter rage and respond with grounded presence. But only if you train yourself. Only if you stop running from your own emotions. Only if you learn the language of your body, your breath, your intuition. There's a reason so many empaths turn to addiction, distraction, or depression. It's not because they're broken. It's because they've never been taught how to hold the magnitude of what they feel. But that ends now. You are not here to drown in the ocean of emotion. You are here to become its sailor, and to navigate it, to understand its tides, or to ride its waves without losing yourself. And when you learn to do that, when you ground your gift in practice, in ritual, in embodiment, you become a force of stabilizing light in a world that is drowning in emotional suppression. You become the calm in the storm, the fire in the dark, the voice of truth when the world is lost in noise. But you must choose this path. No one is going to force you. You can keep numbing. You can keep hiding. You can keep pretending that you're fine. But deep down, you know you're not here for that. You're here to lead. Not with ego, with empathy. True leadership is not about control. It's about resonance. And when an Empath Chosen One stands fully in their truth, their energy speaks louder than any words. People feel safe around you. Not because you have all the answers, but because you have done the work to hold space for complexity. You've walked through your own shadow. You've sat with your own shame. You've cried the tears of your inner child. And now you can sit with others in their darkness without trying to fix them, change them, or rescue them. You simply see them. And seeing is healing. Because when someone is truly seen without judgment, without agenda, without fear, they begin to remember who they really are. That's your power. But you can't wield it until you own it. So let me ask you now, what would your life look like if you stopped apologizing for your empathic nature? What would change if you saw your sensitivity not as a hindrance, but as a superpower? What would awaken in you if you committed, fully and completely, to honoring your emotional intelligence as sacred? This is your moment. The moment where your burden becomes your blessing. The moment where your pain becomes your purpose. The moment where your story becomes your medicine. The world needs you, not the masked version of you, not the people-pleasing version, not the exhausted, overextended, emotionally hijacked version. The real you. The grounded empath. The empowered empath. The chosen one who feels not to suffer, but to serve. And that begins now, not with a dramatic gesture, but with a quiet decision. A decision to stop leaking your energy into unworthy places. A decision to honor your body, your feelings, your needs. A decision to learn the tools, the practices, the rituals that support your nervous system and your spirit. A decision to stop pushing away your calling and start living it. Because you're not here to be a victim of your gift. You're here to be a vessel for something sacred. You're not here to be consumed by emotion. You're here to channel it into creation. And the moment you take radical responsibility for your experience without blame, without shame, you unlock the next level of your soul's mission. You become what the world has been waiting for. A human who feels deeply and stands firmly. A human who sees clearly and loves fiercely. A human who has turned their sacred burden into sacred power. You are that human. You are that empath. You are that chosen one. And the time to rise isn't later. It's now. You've walked the shadowlands of your own heart. You've felt the ache of fighting what others couldn't bear to hold. You've been the lighthouse in the storm, even when your own light flickered in the wind. And now, here you are standing at the threshold of what may be the most important turning point of your life. This is where the Empath Chosen One becomes the empath leader. Not in the traditional sense, not through status, control, or authority, but through embodied presence, through emotional sovereignty, through energetic mastery. Because the world doesn't need another loud voice screaming for attention. It needs a quiet force, someone who leads not from ego, but from empathy. Someone who doesn't seek to dominate, but to resonate. So now, let's go beyond survival, beyond healing, beyond recognition. Let's talk about transformation, about the exact path you must walk to turn your deepest sensitivity into the most radical strength. And it all begins with this truth: your emotional sensitivity is not random. It is precision engineered for your soul's mission. It is your compass, but a compass only works if you follow it. Think about how much of your life you've spent overriding that compass. How often have you ignored your gut, your body, your knowing, just to make others comfortable? Just to avoid confrontation? Just to be nice? Let me be clear, nice is not the same as kind. Nice is a performance, kindness is a frequency. And true kindness, empathic leadership, sometimes looks like saying no. Sometimes it looks like disrupting the pattern. Sometimes it looks like walking away from everything that drains you. Because your energy is sacred. And as a leader, you must begin to see yourself not just as a person, but as a field. A field of coherence, clarity, and care. Your presence affects people. You've seen this. You've felt it. When you're aligned, others feel safe. When you're grounded, others calm down. When you speak from your center, people listen. But when you're ungrounded, when you're depleted, scattered, or emotionally hijacked, that field fractures. That's why self-regulation is not optional. It's your foundation. And if you want to rise as an empath leader, you must master the following 3 pillars. 1. Emotional alchemy. You cannot lead others through what you haven't led yourself through. That means your pain must become your practice. When grief arises, you don't suppress it, you welcome it. You sit with it. You breathe into it. You learn from it. When anger surges, you don't project it, you listen to it. You ask, what boundary is being crossed? What truth have I silenced? When fear grips you, you don't collapse, you investigate. You hold it with curiosity. You ask, what am I protecting? What part of me still needs my love? This is emotional alchemy. And it's what separates the empath victim from the empath leader. Because the leader doesn't seek to escape emotion. The leader learns to transmute it. 2. Energetic discipline. You are not just a body. You are a field. And your field picks up information constantly through environments, conversations, even thoughts. So if you don't learn to protect, clear, and charge your energy, you'll constantly be at the mercy of other people's frequencies. This is why daily energetic hygiene is non-negotiable. You need rituals, practices, non-linear, soul-nourishing spaces that restore you. Maybe that's grounding barefoot on the earth. Maybe it's breathwork, cleansing visualizations, or sacred movement. Maybe it's silence, stillness, sacred solitude. Whatever it is, own it. Protect it like your life depends on it. Because in many ways it does. Your mission cannot survive on burnout. You cannot pour truth from an empty vessel. You must become the guardian of your own energy. And that brings us to the 3rd pillar. 3. Soul-led action. You are not here to be a passive feeler. You are here to create, to act, to bring the invisible world of intuition into the visible world of form. This is the final initiation of the Empath Chosen One, to become a channel, not just for emotion, but for impact. You've spent so long feeling. Now, it's time to build. What message are you here to share? What system are you here to disrupt? What space are you here to hold? What vision are you here to birth? This is not about being famous. This is not about being liked. This is about being in integrity with your soul. And that might mean doing what's unpopular. It might mean walking away from what's familiar. It might mean becoming the first in your lineage to say, I choose something different. But I promise you this, when you live in alignment with your soul, the universe responds. Opportunities open. Support arrives. The right people find you. Because frequency is the new currency. And when your frequency matches your mission, you become magnetic. So let me ask you now, what is the truth you've been afraid to speak? What is the message you've been waiting for permission to share? What is the movement that only you can lead? Because the time for waiting is over. The empath leader doesn't wait for the perfect moment. They create the moment. They show up. They speak up. They stand even when their voice shakes. And in doing so, they give others permission to do the same. This is how you change the world, not through force, through frequency, not through dominance, through devotion, not through perfection, through presence. So now, I want to speak directly to the part of you that still doubts. The part that says, who am I to lead? Who would listen to me? I'm still healing. To that part, I say, you lead because you've walked through the fire. You lead because you felt the darkness and chosen to keep your heart open. You lead because your scars are not shame, they are signposts. They show others what's possible. They say, you can survive this. You can heal this. You can rise from this. You don't need to be perfect to lead. You only need to be honest. You only need to be present. You only need to live the truth you speak. And if you can do that, if you can stand in your full empathic power without apology, you will become unstoppable. Because the world is shifting. The old ways are crumbling, and in their place, a new paradigm is emerging. One led by those who feel, those who care, those who dare to lead from the heart. You are one of those leaders. You were born for this. You didn't come here to numb out, to play small, to shrink in the face of fear. You came here to ignite, to awaken, to embody the sacred frequency of empathy in a world that has forgotten how to feel. So let this be your moment. Let this be the day you stop holding back. Let this be the day you say, I am ready. I am willing. I am choosing to lead. And then lead. Even if no one follows at first. Even if your voice is shaky. Even if you feel fear. Lead anyway. Because someone is watching you right now. Someone is waiting for your courage. Someone is praying for a sign. Someone will remember who they are because you remembered first. That is how powerful you are. So rise. Not because you're flawless, but because your soul can no longer stay silent. You are the Empath Chosen One. You are the empath leader. And the world has been waiting for you. You've walked through the signs, you've honored the burden, you've begun the rise. But now comes the real test, not awakening, but sustaining. It's one thing to realize you're the Empath Chosen One. It's another to live as one every single day in a world that still doesn't understand what that means. You will be challenged not just by others, but by your own mind, your own habits, your own fears. You will be tempted to fall back asleep and to numb again, to go back to a life that felt safe but was never true. This is the crossroad, and only you can choose. So what does it mean to live as the Empath Chosen One? It means living with radical honesty, not only with others, but with yourself. Most people live in masks. You can't afford to. Your soul doesn't allow it. The moment you lie to yourself even a little, you feel it like a disturbance in your field. Your body tightens. Your heart aches. You know when you're out of alignment. So stop pretending. Stop negotiating with your truth. There is no half-truth when it comes to soul work. Either you're in integrity or you're not. And if you're not, pause. Breathe. Return. You don't need to be perfect. But you do need to be honest. Because honesty is the frequency of the Empath Chosen One. We don't manipulate, perform, or seduce. We reveal. We witness. We invite. That's what makes us powerful. But it also makes us vulnerable. And that's exactly where our next lesson lies. You must learn to hold your vulnerability as sacred, not something to hide, not something to overcome, but something to honor. Because your softness is your strength. Your openness is your sword. Your capacity to feel, even when it hurts, that's the mark of a being who has remembered who they are. We live in a culture obsessed with strength. But the Empath Chosen One redefines strength. It is not the absence of feeling. It is the full presence within it. It is not domination. It is deep reception. It is not hardness. It is holding. And when you live that way, when you walk the world with an open heart and an anchored soul, you become magnetic to those who are ready to remember. You don't even have to try. Your energy does the work. But that's why it's so important to keep your energy clear. Every day, ask yourself, what am I carrying that is not mine? Where am I leaking my energy? What do I need to return to center? Because living as the Empath Chosen One doesn't mean being on all the time. It means living in cycles. There will be days when you shine, and days when you disappear to recharge in the dark. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Your nervous system is your temple. Treat it as such. Honor the rhythms of your body. Trust the ebbs as much as the flows. You are not a machine. You are a mystic, and mystics don't rush. They listen. They slow down. They receive. So let yourself become that. Not just someone who knows things, but someone who embodies them. Someone who doesn't just speak light, but radiates it in every room you enter. Because that's the next stage. You are no longer just a receiver of energy. You are a transmitter. You are a lighthouse, a tuning fork, a living activation. And the more you live in alignment with your empathic soul, the more your very presence begins to shift others. But here's the paradox. The more you awaken, the less you need to prove anything. You don't need to explain your path. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. You don't need to justify your boundaries. You just need to live the truth, because the truth carries its own resonance. And this is where your life becomes your message, not your words, not your content, not your opinions, but your energy, how you show up, how you hold space, how you love, how you listen, how you choose to be. That's what people remember. And that's how the Empath Chosen One leads, not by controlling, but by example. So now, let me ask you, if someone watched your life for 24 hours, would they feel your truth? Would they sense your alignment? Would they be reminded of who they really are? Because that's the final initiation, to become a living invitation. Not by effort, but by embodiment. When you live that way, your mission is no longer something you do. It's something you are. You could be sweeping a floor, washing dishes, sitting in silence, and still, your frequency would be doing the work. People feel it. They may not understand it. They may not have words for it, but they feel you. And in a world starving for authenticity, that is the most powerful transmission of all. This is no longer about your pain story. It's about your presence. This is no longer about being seen. It's about seeing clearly. This is no longer about healing others to distract from your own wounds. It's about living in such integrity that your very life becomes the healing. And when you do that, something extraordinary happens. You stop chasing your purpose. You become it. You stop waiting for the world to give you permission. You move and the world rearranges around you. You stop asking, "Am I enough?" And you start remembering that enough was never the question. The question was always, what will I do with the gift I've been given? And now I ask you, what will you do? You have felt the call. You have seen the signs. You have remembered the truth. You are the Empath Chosen One. So what now? Will you go back to sleep? Or will you rise, again and again, in each moment, in each breath, to live as the soul you came here to be? Because the world doesn't change when one person wakes up once. It changes when one person chooses to stay awake, even when it's hard, even when it's lonely, even when it's uncomfortable. Because they know the cost of awakening is high, but the cost of staying asleep is higher. So choose, not someday. Now, choose the path of devotion. Choose the path of embodiment. Choose the path of truth. And let your life become the message the world has been waiting for. Because in the end, this is not just a video. This is a mirror, reflecting back to you the soul you've always been. And if your heart is still beating faster, if your breath is deeper, if your spine feels taller, then you know. You're ready. You are the empath. You are the chosen. And your time is now.